夜半醒來，憶起走過的腳步，覺生命沒有方向藍圖，如何是好？以往不斷禱告，卻似未應允，前路似霧，轉眼之間就見不到。萬語千言，解釋不到百般思念，受過考驗。逝去幾個十年，祈求上天教我可用堅信面對挑戰，憑着信念，奇蹟總可遇見。放下疑慮，學會交託付神，將心交給主，且懂得信靠救主必引導。笑望前路，用信心禱告，找緊這日後，怎都不放棄，因你鼓舞。放下疑慮，學會交託付神，將心交給主，且懂得信靠救主必引導。笑望前路，用信心禱告，找緊這一刻，怎都不放棄，因你鼓舞。放下疑慮，學會交託付神，將心交給主，且懂得信靠救主必引導。笑望前路，用信心禱告，找緊這日後，怎都不放棄，因你鼓舞。遇過天晴，焦急的心變得冷靜，熱愛生命，踏破崎嶇山嶺，無懼逆境，有你不斷安慰提示我，重拾信念，靠主愛必獲勝，持續盼望主必 保守。帶
只要我哋相信。
呢份報告出咗，你剩翻嘅時間唔多。
I was working at a hospital, and during that work, and that part, cranial was very far away from me, but I got a head accident and was hit in a sailing boat accident, and I went to many places in the hospital to find out why I got headache and why I got difficulties in reading and become more and more stiff in the neck. And after years of surgery or years of investigation, could not find anything. And then one of the guys in the hospital knew something about cranial work, so he suggested that there was an osteopath who practiced that in Copenhagen. So I went to her, and I could feel that there was she was touching the right spot. So I started to have many sessions, treatments. And then I got more and more interested in to explain not only the effects of the neck, but like the effects on my hip, my legs, my arms, how I use my eyes, my hearing, and I started to study it. And I came to this American institute, Uplift Institute, and after some years I practiced and more, and I took the education. And I shifted my work from the hospital to a private clinic, so I could practice it every day. I was a medical scientist, so I have my PhD in medicine and worked with cancer research for many years. So many of my friends and my wife are scientists and medical doctors, so the first 2 years they will think I was talking a little bit strangely about how to have a very different approach to treat the body. One of my very close friends, he's a medical doctor and he's also a professor in neuroanatomy. So he was really said, it's impossible that you can touch or feel that. And for the first 2 or 3 years he didn't believe me. Then one of his children got sick and he said, well, we've been to the hospital, couldn't you have a look at my daughter? And he was just standing in the room looking, and he could see his daughter was starting to do some body movements, and she said, well, I got out of that pain. And he said, I don't know what you're doing, but maybe I would like to try it myself. Yeah, my advantage was that they knew I was working as a scientist and had my PhD, so they knew I was not fooling around and I really meant it seriously. So they believed I was doing the right thing the first years, but they didn't understand it. And so I had to, many of my friends and family, I tried to put my hands on them to say, can you feel this? And because I know the anatomy and I can say, you can feel this now. And some of the medical doctors say, yeah, I can actually feel this structure. I can feel a cranial nerve that has something to do with my facial movements or something like that. And I think that's one of the most important ways of how people get to know this kind of work is when they feel it on their own body. Then they know. Now I'm a teacher for the Uplift Institute, and I work very much. They have a set of working calling the Brain Speaks, where you try to palpate brain structures, and it's like it's the boss of the physical body. So when you touch the brain, it's you can really do something. And here I connected with a brain researcher and offered him to try to feel his own brain. And he was on the treatment table, and he was like, of course, not believing it. He's been dissecting many brains, so he knows the structures very well. So he says, now I can feel you have a sharp pressure on this structure. Now you feel this structure. So what we are doing now together is to explore how we can see how different diseases relate to when we have a brain trauma. Very often you see people later on in life gets Parkinson's, Alzheimer, and now research has shown that the circulation of liquids around the brain, if that's not clear, you get proteins and waste products, and that's one of the reasons for Alzheimer. So the fluid circulation in the brain is very, very important, and we can affect that by bringing treatment. That's one of our specialties to make the fluid circulation in tissue, and especially around the central nervous system. So if we get tension, so we think of our brain as neurons, but only 20% of the human brain is neurons. The rest of the brain is support cells that we could call like the fascial connective tissue of the brain. And that is like in the body we have like a lymphatic system, but in the brain we call it the glymphatic pathway, and it's been newly discovered by science. And it makes fluid circulation around all the brain cells. And the brain cell needs nutrition, and they need the liquid to take away the waste products. So if we have some kind of tension or even small concussions, this fluid circulation is disrupted, and then we start to have many of the neurological diseases that we see is growing in the world. And it's become a big interest in the States, because many we know it from boxers because they get a hit to the head, but many of the well-paid American football players, they get many small concussions to the head. And actually many American football players are developing neurological diseases as Alzheimer in a very early age. So now there's a research that links the fluid circulations to even small concussions of the brain. And that's what we feel when we are feeling the tissue around the brain, to see, oh, there's a tension, there's a restriction, and when we have a restriction, we do not have this fluid circulation.
世上是和平，舉起雙手作證，我共你步向愉快，笑聲，夜盡便會是黎明，彼此關心照應，每日也共你呼應，用愛編織這首歌。劃破隔膜，令心慌，四海就變咗一家，你錯意。
Another thing that we work with is sinus problems, to get
我哋唔會俾過多嘅，因為如果我哋順應頭先嗰個自愈重生五步曲，我哋係標住佢嘅筋膜嘅流動，去帶動佢嗰個身體嘅反應。咁嗰個係身體嘅主導，唔係我哋嘅計算。咁所以唔會過多嘅，佢夠咧佢就唔會 take up 㗎啦。咁所以頭先你話做幾耐咧？任何一陣洋葱皮嘅釋放，亦都係一個好嘅治療效果。喺我哋唔知頭唔知路，個客人又唔知頭唔知路，佢就話咧咁樣咧都有咧20%大師嘅服務專。 我哋淨係隻手去先幫我哋一定就要到㗎啦。呢個唔緊我哋輸咗。
Let's hear the world say, we are one. Let the world say, we are one. Let the whole world say, we are one. Let the people say, we are one. Everybody say, we are one. You say, I say, we are one. We say, they say, we are one. Can I hear you say, we are one? Everybody say.
Craniosacral therapy is a gentle hands-on technique or therapeutic approach that is used to loosen abnormal tensions in membranes within the skull. In Mary Ellen's case, the origin of the whole problem was down in her left knee and ankle. And we had to trace it up through the fascial system, through her pelvis, and up through her spinal column and into her head, and finally over into the right temporal column.
He was not ready to be touched. I brought him out of the water first. I had never felt a hug like that from him in 11 years.
I experienced firsthand the connection into a world beyond our imagination. Their eyes were magical, mesmerizing. Their movements were graceful and fascinating. Laying in that water, listening to their clicks, brought about a surreal feeling, as if I was in a whole other dimension. I had told no one I had broken my jaw. I was there for my son, not me. And yet the dolphin worked on my jaw.
And she has Rett syndrome, which occurs in 1 in 10,000 girls. Everything is normal until she was 18 months of age, and then she lost her ability to speak, and she started to lose her fine and her gross motor skills.
My name is Ricky Williams. I'm a retired NFL football player. Specifically, I'm starting to feel the effects of playing football. I'm starting to feel numbness and shooting down my left arm. Starting to feel a lot of compression. And I'm hoping just to release, the compression that I'm feeling in my head. And I was skeptical that the Dolphins would be interested enough to come up. And as I got in and laid down, immediately there was a sense of peace as I relaxed, and I could hear the dolphins speaking, communicating, the dolphin noises that you see on television. I couldn't tell how far away they were, but I could tell that whatever they were doing was directed at me, because I could start to feel energy or intensity in my body increase. I could feel my liver starting to become more active. I could feel energy going up and down my spine more. What was interesting was when your body had releases, 100% of the time it was aligned when the dolphins were looking at you or touching you.
Dr. Upledger created a genius system. He helped all of us learn how to look at the human body in a different way. In osteopathic medicine, they look at the body as an integrated totality, and that truly is where he came from. But what he did additionally was help us to learn to listen to the message that each individual body carries, so that no two people are alike. And I like to say I have highly educated hands, and I'm a very good listener, and I happen to listen with my hands.
One of my best experiences with him was in a class where I was working on somebody, and he put his hand right on top of my hand, and all of a sudden I could feel some of what he was feeling. He blended with what I was feeling and then let me feel what he was feeling in the client. And he showed me what he was feeling in the client and what the client was showing him, and together we were able to work. And so he developed basically cranial sacral therapy. His approach was, I can teach people some very simple techniques where a parent can help their child, or a massage therapist can help their client, or a PT can use in their practice, or a medical doctor can use.
Graham was born into this world in a very traumatic and difficult way. He was born at 35 weeks. My placenta abrupted, and we knew something was wrong right away. And soon after that, he began crying, and it was nonstop. We had about 4 straight years of crying and no sleeping, and I was desperately looking for anything that could help my son. And so we made multiple trips to the Bahamas. We went to see Dr. Upledger in his clinic in Florida, and incredible things happened. The dolphins taught me that crying is communication. So I learned to understand his cries. One was scared, one was just telling his story. And once he was able to tell his story and he was heard, it just stopped. It was magical. He just stopped crying.
And we were all probably experiencing the same thing. We felt this sonar, this vibration. Your whole body goes through just about every single cell of your body. I can't really describe it when the dolphins shoot that sonar. We were the orthopedic surgeon, and we've been going there for about 10 years for scoliosis. And doctors never usually like to use the word miracle, but he said, it's a miracle what you guys have done. And I don't know what you two are doing, but you keep doing what you're doing, because
He had early contact with dolphins in the Coast Guard and never forgot that. Dr. Upledger says when we go to see the dolphins, we should behave as though we're moving into their living room. We're moving into their world. Rather than imposing our ideas upon them, we should go be with them in a way in which we're open to whatever information exchange may happen, whatever needs to happen here. What is our intention? And we say that we are with dolphins, and our intention is for free and willing interaction with dolphins, with intentions for healing.
I always tell people watching a craniosacral therapy session is a little bit like watching a sailboat race. If you're on the shore and you see the boat out on the distance, it may not look like much is going on, but if you're on the boat, you get to feel the waves and the wind and the rocking and all the different things, and that's what it's like for a patient who is very in tune with their body. They can feel some of those subtle changes, as it relaxes in the body, and for the therapist who's feeling for the response to their touch.
What's interesting about, I think, craniosacral therapy is it really gets down to what we sometimes call the core of the human organism.
The craniosacral system is made up of the meninges, or the membranes that go around the brain and the spine, and actually go through it, transverse it as well. And so basically that is what affects your whole body. So if there's wrinkles, so to speak, in that, then it can create little glitches along the way. And so if we can help iron out or smooth out those wrinkles so that all the body fluids, all the nerves work better, the cerebrospinal fluid works better, then we can help create a lot of change for the body.
To someone who's not familiar with touch, that may sound kind of, woo to some people. They might not quite understand how that would work. I used to be one of those people myself.
I used to be very much more analytical and science-based, but there were profound life changes.
With the cranial work, you're really working with them to heal themselves, which is something that we don't really talk about in mainstream circles.
We are listening to their bodies and letting their bodies tell us what they need and honoring who they are and where they're at.
The body has many forms of what we call body wisdom. Your heart has heart wisdom, you might say, or it has a certain knowing that happens with. People will even say, I know with my heart. Some people will say, I have a gut reaction, I know with my gut. So we use this system as something that directs us. And Dr. Upledger once said that he finds the inner physician of a person within the craniosacral system.
Dr. Upledger was of the mindset that he could see so much change happening, and he actually termed or coined the phrase craniosacral therapy. But at the time, he didn't think he needed to trademark it, and now other people are using it because it works.
The first time I met Dr. John was at a craniosacral class at the Upledger Institute. I was very excited to meet him because even though I'd only had a little bit of the work and a few classes, I knew that he was the heart and soul of the Institute.
He put his hands on you, and he was so good at blending and melding that it's like his hand could feel like it was clearing your body and it was non-invasive.
I think everybody remembers his hands. He had big hands, he had thick fingers, but he had gentle hands.
And when we teach people hand placement, we'd have to say, you have to look at your own hand size, because he had these big fingers that were genetically modified for this work. We jokingly say because they were so large.
Actually, when I first met him, first took courses, students exposed to more information in 2 4-day courses than I had been able to gain in 10 years. And his approach was, I can teach people some very simple techniques that were learned, which actually came from cranial osteopathy, where a parent can help their child, or a massage therapist can help their client, or a PT can use in their practice, or a medical doctor can use.
Using craniosacral therapy, what I principally worked on is using Dr. Upledger's model of tuning into Azaria and blending with her in what we call her inner wisdom or her inner physician to see where she guides me. And so it's not always about the seizure. Sometimes there's other issues that her body guides me to want to be worked on. She's had a lot of issues with her spine through the years, and so wanting to have her spine released. Some issues with her neck and her mouth, and wanting to have that released.
Her left side, due to brain abnormalities, is contracted. And immediately when she has craniosacral, it becomes much more relaxed. It doesn't ever completely open, but you can see that she's making a connection with this side of her body. She was at a point of her life where she was having the most seizures that she's ever had in her life.
She's having hundreds a day.
Upwards, to hundreds of seizures a day. We brought her here, and after her second day of treatment in the water with one of the dolphins, she started having a seizure, and the dolphin came up and stopped it. I mean, it stopped.
A dolphin came up and pressed herself against Azaria's spine and sent, I guess, her echo wave or whatever you call it, and that grand mal seizure just went. Phew.
不要怀疑，选择相信，梦想是为每一个人预备。持守相信的人，梦想一定成真。看见奇妙的风景，下定决心不怕牺牲，排除万难就能经历重生，直到死而复生，奇迹才会发生。我不要永远是毛虫，爬来爬去过一生。我要蜕变，我要蜕变，我要蜕变成美丽的蝴蝶。我要蜕变，我要蜕变，我渴望更美好的世界。可以
倾出温馨美妙，多动人尋夢調，傾出光輝歲月，翻起了生命浪潮，燃亮熱熾鬥志，彷彿勁草於急風，盡興於風中蹦蹦跳，願你我珍惜一分一秒。
也許未來遙遠在光年之外，我願守護未知裡為你等待，我沒想到為你我能瘋狂的山盟海誓，沒有你根本不想逃，我的膽的為你已經瘋狂的脈搏心跳，沒有你根本不重要。你說會在我胸口的臂彎足夠抵擋眼神的抓，一種執迷不放手的倔強，足以點燃所有希望。宇宙傍晚冷漠，我們的愛微笑着閃爍，點破卻如此無果。緣分讓我們相遇了是意外，命運卻要我們為很久相愛。單手停在發端的指尖，入我瞬間，凍結時間，祈求望着我堅定的雙眼，也許已經沒有明天。面對浩瀚的星海，我們微笑得像塵埃，漂浮在一片